Welcome to our Backyard Brothers podcast. We are down a member today. Yancey is having an outage problem with the internet down there. Uh, One of the reasons I went away from Xfinity. Sorry, we're not. I just hopefully Xfinity's not a sponsor in the future. So
I don't think they will.
They won't be now.
We'll burn that bridge when we get to it.
okay. Anyway, Yancey's not with us because he's having internet problems, and we won't say who the company is.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, so we're going to talk NBA playoffs today and then move forward from there into finishing up our NFL review. And then we'll talk some PTI questions. And so that's the way that we're going right now. Let me share my screen. I'm going to share my entire screen, which is what I'm learning. And it's this one. Do you all see this NBA playoffs? Yes, you should. Are you both here still?
Yep.
Okay, great. Hide that. So we had our semifinal series between the Pacers and the Cavs. This series did not go as we expected it to go. The Pacers won games 1 and 2. Cavs won game 3. And Pacers then won games 4 and 5. We talked about it last week that the Cavs were kind of playing shorthanded. Evan Mobley was hurt. Jared Allen was hurt for the first game. And then in game 3, at the end of game 3, maybe it was game 4, trying to remember that timeline now. But Donovan Mitchell
Yeah.
sprained his ankle, and he did still play in Game 5, but he wasn't 100%, and it showed. Cavs were still competitive, but they still couldn't beat the Pacers. And this is a 60-plus win team in the regular season that bows out in 5 games to the Indiana Pacers. So, what thoughts do we have?
So to respond to this first, after watching this series and watching the Pacers, I mean, I think you could have made the Cavs totally healthy and put LeBron James on that team, and the Pacers still win this series. I mean, the Pacers played absolutely wonderful, fantastic basketball all throughout the series. And Tyrese Halliburton, a few weeks ago got voted as the most overrated player in the NBA. And I think that struck a chord because he played so incredibly well. That
Yeah.
I take back every negative thing I've said about Tyrese Halliburton.
He was really, really good. I agree. Oops, sorry. I'm messing with this. So I can go back to us.
Which,
There we go.
which game did Cleveland win out of those
Cleveland
five?
won game 3 in Indiana.
One game. Okay. Okay. Um, I mean, it's just impressive. I mean, I'm not sure if there's another word I can use. It's impressive how they were able I mean, just shut them down for the 4 games that they won. Um, and I know the name Tyrese Halliburton. I at least know the name. But I now know as well that I should be watching him and following him, not just knowing the name. So it's uh, it's interesting to see what the Pacers will be able to do going through the rest of the playoffs, especially if they're able to beat the Cavs in 5 games. That's really impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we'll talk more about the Cavs when we do the NBA review, but I mean, there's nothing short of disappointing. I mean, this is a team that went. What did they won their first like 16 games of the year, and then had like 4 separate 10-game winning streaks in the season, uh, and then get to the playoffs and sweep the Heat completely, look like the dominant force, and then completely get outmatched by the Indiana Pacers. Uh, when they're this good, when they get 60 wins, you expect a lot more than a bow out in divisional round, or not divisional. What is this called? Semifinal round. Um, so it's
It's
just
all it's also
Donovan Mitchell said it himself. So go ahead, Dustin.
No, you're fine. It's also just interesting how close the first two games were. It was especially the second game. Like what 1 point? Yeah, 1 point
Hmm.
difference. I think that
And that was the one that
it.
Tyrese Halliburton hit a buzzer beater to win it too. Not quite a
Mhm.
buzzer beater, but
Oh, I did.
may as well have been.
I did see that. Yeah. Yeah, it's just interesting, like how had they won those two games. I mean, by that 1 point in that second game, this could have gone completely different. So it's just show. It's like one of those things that like the game really does go down to the very last second. It's not a there's 3 minutes left, the game's over. It's one of those things, and so um, it's just interesting to see how close they were, and the Pacers just pushed for it and fought for it.
Yeah. Any other thoughts for you, Dustin, on that series?
You use the word outmatched, and I think that's a good word. That the Pacers were better at every position.
Hmm.
They just did fantastic and better at every position.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, let's move on to the Knicks and Celtics. Uh, this is one where the Celtics saved their season last night. They won without Jason Tatum, and they won pretty convincingly, 127 to 102. They now force Game 6 back in New York. But the Knicks won three of the first four games, all of them very close. And then Jason Tatum goes down in game four, writhing in pain. If you all saw it, it didn't look good from the beginning. It was uh, it was non-contact, going for a ball and completely twisted up his leg and then writhed in pain on the floor, going back and forth. Confirmed MRI, he tore his Achilles, and so he'll be out obviously the rest of these playoffs and probably for the beginning of next year too. So, but Celtics still won without
Yeah,
him. So
to comment first on Tatum, like, is there an echo?
I don't hear one.
I hear it.
Okay.
Let
To
me.
comment first on Tatum, I mean, I saw as soon as he went down, as soon as I saw that, I knew that it was an Achilles. I mean, that's just exactly what a torn Achilles looks like. And so unfortunate there. But Celtics won, and like I saw so many things saying like, "Oh, series is over, series is over." Um, and I really don't think that it is yet. This Celtics team is great with or without Tatum. And I think that I would expect them to push the Knicks to seven.
I might agree with that, but going back to New York for Game 6 without Tatum, that's a tough environment to win as well. So I at this point I'd predict a Knicks win in 6 games, but like you said, the Celtics are the champs for a reason.
Yeah, I don't know what else to add. I mean, I do want to know the Celtics are the first seed in the other division or the other conference, right? No, what their second seed, and Knicks are what seed?
Knicks are three.
Three.
Okay, so it could be another upset in terms of seeding. I kind of hope so. It'd be fun to see the Knicks go through. I'm not sure how you guys feel about that, but I'm not sure if Dustin you feel like a connection or obligation to support the Celtics or not. But
I
it'd
was
be
a
fun
fan
to
of
see
them
that.
all last year. Whenever they won their championship last year, I was a big fan of them all last year. But as with anything, too much of a good thing, you're ready for to move on. And so I want to see a different Eastern Conference team in the finals. I want to see them playing the Thunder.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I guess it's just in a way, I kind of want to see the Celtics win the next game just so it goes to seven and makes it dramatic and everything. But I do hope that the Knicks win this game, and they can. I do know you're saying that without Tatum, the Celtics are still dangerous, and they are. But you, you can't just not have Tatum at the same time. He's such a big player, and so while they're going to be good, I do think it's going to hurt him.
Yep, I would agree. Let's.
I'm blanking on the Celtics center who had the fantastic, amazing game last night. Big 7 footer. I'm totally blanking on his name, Luke something, but he had a
Luke
fantastic
Cornett.
game. And so
Cornett.
Cornette, yeah, he had
Mm-hmm.
7 blocks.
Mm-hmm.
It was a fantastic game.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, I'm with
Right.
with Cody. I think Knicks are winning Game 6 on their home floor, uh, and will host Eastern Conference Finals at home Game 1 against the Pacers if that's the case. And that Pacers are now in. We didn't mention this. Pacers are now in the Eastern Conference Finals for the second straight year. Uh, they were in there
Mhm.
last year, lost to the Pacers in 5 games last year, and beat the Knicks in the semifinal round to get there. And so that we could have that rematch there. Um,
Yeah.
could be a fun little one. Okay, let's look at the Western Conference, starting with the Nuggets and Thunder. This has been a wild series. Uh, I mean, we talked about the first 2 games last week. The Nuggets winning Game 1 and then the Thunder blowing them out in Game 2. Game 3, the only way I can describe it is that the Thunder ran out of gas because the Nuggets pushed it to overtime and then took a huge lead in overtime, and obviously winning by 9 in overtime uh, at home and pushing that series 2-1. Game 4 was ugly, just flat out ugly. I think the teams combined for 25 points in the first quarter. Uh, it was nasty. It was bad. Low scoring game, and then the Thunder just pulled away near the end. Game 5, and Dustin, correct me if I'm wrong on any of this, but this is the way that I read it, watching these games. But Game 5, the Nuggets had that one won in the fourth quarter. Not necessarily won. I mean, they weren't up by huge margin, but they had a lead in the fourth quarter, and suddenly the Thunder just turned on their defense and didn't allow the Nuggets to score after, you know, 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and stole that game out from the Nuggets, and now they have a chance to go back to Denver and close out the series in Denver. Am I reading all that right? You think?
Yeah, pretty good. I think with that game 3 loss, the Nuggets winning that one in overtime. I think that was the Nuggets experience. Just
Mm,
having been through this before, having won a title, they just have the experience. I know how to win a close game that goes into overtime. Um, but then in game 5, yeah, the Nuggets were up by 10 or so in the fourth quarter. But then I think I saw the stat that the Thunder went 31-15 basically in the
mm-hmm.
fourth quarter in order to come back and win that. And it was very exciting. I was nervous, but it was great. And so yeah, game 6 is happening right now in Denver.
Yeah, yeah. Cody, any
I don't think I
thoughts
have anything to
on
add
this
right
one?
now.
Okay. Yeah.
I could talk about this series for the whole podcast.
It's been a
I'll
fun series. Yeah.
I'll try not to.
Game 4 was
I'll
just
try not to talk
ugly.
about it, but it's not fun. Yeah,
Game 4 was
it was
brutal. Yeah.
in game 5. It was funny to watch if you've seen it, where Jokic gets the ball at the top of the key with 2 seconds on the shot clock and just does a
Hmm.
pirouette fadeaway 3 to hit it, and everybody just goes surrender Cobra. Just like, what are we doing? And so, but then it's funny to watch Jokic. He looks like he's like trying to play water polo the way he moves. Just kind of he just kind of moves around like that, and it's interesting to watch him. And yeah, one of the best players in the world. And
Yeah.
yeah, can't he's just crazy.
It's interesting that we're getting the two MVP candidates in the series going up against each other. I mean, technically, there is Giannis, but he's not really part of the conversation anymore. It's it's Jokic versus Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. One of those two is winning the MVP. Uh, the narrative sometimes take over, but the narrative has been Shea all season. But well, we'll see. Jokic has had the best season of his career, and people kind of forget about that. This is a guy that's won 3 MVPs already, and this is his best season.
Scott, maybe I could suggest it would help with the audio and video instead of sharing this screen. Just stop share and then reshare. I think that that'll help if you're able to do that.
Okay, can you hear me still,
Yeah,
or
and then whenever
you can still
more.
see me? But yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
It's
oh
just
yeah, because I
whenever
don't
you
need I
share
don't need to
that.
share the screen when we're. Yeah, you're right. Still learning,
Yeah.
but
The only thing I was going to add was you had to mention about narratives. Sometimes narratives take over, and it just I think isn't that I think that's the whole reason Josh Allen won the MVP over
mhm,
Lamar Jackson. Is there's that narrative in place. So I
yeah,
think that's something that we can totally expect. And this media drives way more than I think people realize. Almost the entire thing, just everything. So um, kind of like whatever media wants is what people get. So
yeah,
um, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and so both players are completely deserving to win MVP. Nikola Jokic had one of the best seasons ever in NBA history since Russell Westbrook did it 4 times in a row. Like
hmm
it's pretty incredible what Jokic has done, and so he's deserving. But Shea is just as deserving, and so I don't think that whoever it doesn't go to should be offended or anything like that. They're both deserving.
yeah. Agreed. Okay, let's see if I can do this the right way. Share the last one of the semifinal round, the Warriors and Timberwolves. Uh, so in the first series that we talked about, Donovan Mitchell got hurt. He's the star of the Cavaliers. In the second series, the Celtic star got hurt, and in this third series, Stephen Curry got hurt in the first game, the Warriors star, and Warriors were still able to win Game One, but they lost the next four. And you can't honestly tell me that Steph Curry not being there wasn't the biggest driver of the Timberwolves winning those four games. They were all fairly close, I would say. Obviously, Game Two was a little bit out there, but um, the Timberwolves deserved to win the series. I'm not saying that. I just it would have been different if Steph was on the court, and it would have gone 6, 7 games. Uh, and so, part of a question that I had for later on, but obviously injuries are part of the game, and as a team, you have to overcome those, and the Warriors weren't equipped to do so.
Good comments, good intro on that. Timberwolves are a great team, and I don't want to, say, oh, they only won because Stephen Curry. No, I think they would have won anyway. To your point, it may have gone another game or two, uh, but I think they would have won anyway. With all their talent there and how well they're able to spread the floor, and then how big, long, and athletic they are. Um, you know, just they're the team built to take down the Warriors. And so I think that for whoever goes to the conference finals, it's going to be a tough matchup against the Timberwolves.
Mm-hmm.
I just think it's equally impressive in my opinion, even though you know well, I was gonna say equally impressive with how the Patriots beat the Cavs. Even though that the seeding is different, I still think it's impressive. Um, I think the Warriors have always been a great team, and even with Steph not there, they're a good team. But the Wolves are dangerous, like you're saying, Dustin.
Mm-hmm. And just like we talked about the Pacers, this is now Timberwolves going to the Western Conference Finals in back-to-back seasons. No matter who wins out of OKC or Denver, Memphis or Minnesota has to play on the road for game one and possible game seven. So whether it's OKC or Denver, though one of those two teams gets the home court advantage against Minnesota, whatever that means.
Yeah. So quick trivia on this on let's say NBA, and I'll give you a hint that it's one of those two teams, Timberwolves or Warriors. But can you guess what player led the league in most three pointers made this season?
Uh huh. I know this answer.
An- Anthony
Anthony
Edwards.
Edwards. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, Anthony Edwards did. Not Stephen Curry. That doesn't, not to say anything against his greatness, but yeah, Anthony Edwards led the league in three pointers made this season. I mean, it's and so I just reemphasize my point that the Warriors would have lost this series no matter what.
Yeah. I I mean I did pick the Warriors to win in seven. Um, and I don't know if I can say that would be the case or not. Obviously, when Steph goes down, at that point you change your mind if you're me, because
Mm,
he's everything about that team. And so, but if Steph's healthy, I think the Warriors still win that series. So I don't know if I 100% agree with you. So,
okay.
I don't know.
but yeah,
I
if
don't know who'd have won that.
but obviously, yeah, when Steph goes down, Timberwolves win the next four games, and that's fairly predictable at that point. Okay, we have the Pacers playing either the Celtics or the Knicks, and we have the Timberwolves playing either the Thunder or the Nuggets. But we can't preview those conference finals yet. We'll probably have to do that offline this coming week. But
Yeah.
any other thoughts about NBA before we move on?
Just on our PTI questions we'll get to later. They're both NBA focused.
Okay, so let's do some football really quickly.
Actually, one question.
Yeah.
I got one question, mostly, I guess, mostly for Dustin, but and I know I think I know the answer, but I'm kind of curious how you're going to answer this. Is it more sure that the sun's going to come up tomorrow, or is it more sure that Cooper Flag is going to the Mavericks? Which one's more sure? Okay, that's what I thought.
I'd give them equal chance.
Okay. All right.
So, so okay, so the can of worms is open a little bit. I think the main reason that the Mavericks won the number one pick was because the NBA could not risk a talent like Cooper Flag going to someplace like Utah or
Hmm.
Washington or Charlotte. They need to put him in a big market so they can sell jerseys. So Mavericks win the number one pick.
Yeah, you really hope that there's not that kind of rigged lottery system. It would it really hurts credibility. But when that happens, Mavericks had a 1.8% chance, I think, to win that whole thing. Uh, you just really got to question that because yeah, the team that had the best shot to win that was what, Charlotte, right? Who was it?
You,
Um,
you, you
Utah had the best chance. Okay,
yeah, and they
yeah,
dropped a fifth.
yeah.
So what is the process of the lottery? Like, is it a just completely like computerized percentage system, or is Adam
Hmm.
Silver behind the curtain deciding, which one to do, or how does that work?
Well,
Yep.
yeah,
No, it's yeah, the bottom three seeds have the same equal chance of getting the number one pick. It's a 14.8% chance. The bottom three seeds both have a 14.8% chance of getting the number one pick, as well as the number two and the number three. And then other seeds after that, have lower percentages. And the Mavericks, who were way down at like number 11th or something, had like a 1.8% chance and came away with it.
yeah. Does that change the narrative at all on what's his bucket, the Mavericks general manager? Now that he Nico whatever, so.
Yeah, Nico Harrison. You know, I think that we're gonna have to see how the next season plays out. If Cooper Flag comes in, wins Rookie of the Year, and the Mavericks get back to the playoffs, that then yeah, you talk about okay, they did a reset, and it was great. It was the right thing to do at that, you know, to some degree of a point where if they get back to the playoffs and obviously have a star on their hands.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I don't see a world in which you trade a 26-year-old superstar for a unproven 20-year-old hopeful. There's like you still got 10 years left of Luka
Mm-hmm.
greatness. That you have there's you're gambling the entire house on cards you haven't looked at.
Did you say when Cooper Flag wins Rookie of the Year? Is that what you said?
If
I heard you
I
say
think it
when.
was
Okay,
if.
all right. I want to make sure. I was gonna. Yeah, okay, all right. There went down my argument. Okay.
Um, yeah, I mean, they're essentially the same prototype of a player, a big point guard. Uh, but Luca is MVP kind of guy, and Cooper Flag, he may be or he may not, and that's the whole thing that that the Mavericks are banking on, and we're just assuming that they're gonna take Cooper Flag. Maybe Nico will pull another just stupid move and not do it, but everywhere that I'm seeing has Cooper Flag in a Mavericks jersey already, and so uh, yeah.
so so I think that we get a little bit ahead of ourselves. There's every single year in every single draft, there's a player like Cooper Flag projected to go in the top three.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not to the same level of hype, you know, maybe not to the same level of greatness already shown, or athletic ability, size, all that, you know, but there's always a number one pick that could define a franchise. And you know that you could look back at all of the number one picks, all of those franchise defining players, and in the last 25 years, you know, Scott and I probably know all their names, but Cody, you know, you may only know half their names, and that's not a diss to Cody at all. That's a
Yeah,
diss to
Cody,
these
have you ever
players
heard of the
not
name?
working.
Cody,
I was
have you
gonna
ever heard the
say
name
half is being
Michael
generous.
Olowokandi?
Yeah,
What's
Michael
the name?
Olowokandi.
Michael
Michael
Olowokandi.
Olowokant. How much candy does he have?
All of
Well,
it.
not anymore.
How about
So
Markel Fultz?
yeah,
I don't think so.
yeah, and
I'm totally blanking on the Cavs number one pick in like
Anthony Bennett.
2009 or 2000. No, yeah, Anthony Bennett. Ever heard of Anthony
That name
Bennett?
sounds familiar, at least. That name sounds familiar.
Okay, because no announcer ever said it.
I
Yeah.
was gonna say though, like saying that I know half of them though is being generous. I doubt I even know a quarter of them.
Hmm. Yeah.
Greg Oden,
He was number two.
and he was number two.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, if we're talking about betting on Cooper Flag, flip a coin. Either he defined your franchise, or in 3 years he's playing in Europe.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Um, so we're talking about it. So why don't we just do your PTI question right now, Dustin?
Yeah. So the question for discussion is now that the Lakers are eliminated from the playoffs, you know, given all that, and now given that they have the number one pick, you know, does this Luka trade seem a little more balanced? And then finally, the final question of um, should Nico Harrison lose his job as the Mavericks GM? I'll answer
Um,
last.
okay. This seems like there's three questions in there, and so
Okay.
let me take the first one and say that no, it's not balanced because of what we were just talking about. The Cooper Flag is an unknown. Luka Doncic is known, uh, and it's whether it's rigged or not. It was a 1.8% chance for them to win the lottery. They can't have banked on this happening unless there was something underwritten in a contract somewhere by Adam Silver, which is totally possible. But they can't bank on that happening, and so no, it's not balanced. It won't be balanced at least for the next 5 years. It may be Cooper Flagg's generational talent, and then it's balanced. But still, at that point, you still have to look back and say they gambled everything on a hopeful, and it wasn't balanced then, and it won't be balanced now. Uh, because maybe the Lakers never won a championship with this core. That doesn't mean that he wouldn't have won one in Dallas. They were in the NBA Finals last year, so you may have just sold all of your titles that you could have got with Luka for something, and what happens in LA does not matter to what happens in Dallas anymore. You can't compare yourself to that. You can't say that it worked out because LA didn't win a championship with Luka. That it doesn't matter. It matters what happens in Dallas. Uh, and so, as far as the other, maybe there's only two questions. Should Nico lose his job? I, I think he should have lost his job the day after he made that trade. Uh, but he's going to be given some time now that he got the number one pick, and but still, it's going to be defined as a failure. I think no matter what. Just because this was a stupid move to make, and you could have won titles with Luka Doncic.
Good,
So
good comment.
I yeah, I think that I mean I agree with Scott that it's not balanced. I was trying to find a comparison between to help myself understand this better in football, and it may not be a great one, but it would be as if the Ravens traded away Lamar Jackson and took Caleb Williams, saying this is going to change everything, and so that wouldn't have made any sense. There's no, yeah, he was a generational talent and he hasn't proved it yet. So it would have been something kind of like that. And there's no way that you can say that, prove that, because both Lamar as well as Luca are proven, not just commodities, but proven essentials in the league. And so I still think that, I mean, even if Luca was still, what was I trying to say? Even if But yeah, even if Cooper Flag becomes this great, one kind of player elite, I still think it was a dumb thing to do because they would have won this pick anyway. This is how it happened. Imagine if Luca was still on that. It was still on that team. Luca and Flag. I'm not sure if I understood that correctly, but that's how I understand it. Luca and Flag being on the team together. That's something that would have been a dangerous mix, because you have Luca and then you have this potential for this Cooper Flag to be a huge star as well. And so I think it's dumb no matter what. So should Nico lose his job? I don't know him well enough, but sure, go ahead and fire him. Um, but I don't remember what the other question was, but those
I
are
think it
my
was just
thoughts
those two.
there.
I counted a third one that was in my head, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, good. Scott, what I like you said, and I'll just echo it, is like you can't care what happens in LA and Dallas. As a Dallas fan, you can't care what happens in LA because that's it's none of your it's not your team, and so whatever Luca does going forward doesn't affect Dallas because that ship has sailed. And
Yeah.
then Cody, oh, I forget exactly how you said it, but to the effect of like just not making the right decision or not understanding it, and so I would see it as something Nico Harrison said after the trade and all the fallout. He said something to the degree of, I knew that Luka Doncic was important to the Mavericks, but I didn't understand how much.
Yeah.
And it's like I
How do you
just
not know that?
this is
Like,
this is perhaps the number three most popular player in the league behind LeBron and Jokic, and maybe fourth behind Curry, but he's top five most popular player in the league. And how are you not? Oh, how are you so out of touch with your own organization
mhm.
that you thought that this was not something that your fans would then become disenchanted with you as? And so even if they do win, even if they do draft Cooper Flag, and even if it works out, I mean, you've insulted so many of your fans that it's going
Mhm.
to be incredibly difficult to win them back. I think that so many fans have burned jerseys and stepped away from this. Mark Cuban has a fire to put out, and better smother it with Nico Harrison.
My comment to that is me myself. I've known how important he was to the Mavericks organization, and I'm disconnected in a way to NBA. I know what basketball is, right? I like to play basketball. I know all the teams, but Luka was pretty much the player I could name on the Mavericks. You know that's I knew that, and if a manager of their own team doesn't know this information, they probably shouldn't be a manager of any team, let alone the Mavericks. And so, I mean, I, yeah, that's all I have to say. I don't know what else to say. I'm speechless.
Yeah, when I saw that quote posted on social media, I thought it was like an onion quote at first. I couldn't
Yeah.
believe that that was actually real. So, yeah.
Can you imagine? I think John Lynch trading away Christian McCaffrey, and they asked, "Why'd you do that?" He goes, "Who?"
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that guy. I know he was kind of important to the organization, but
He
whatever.
played running back, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
It would be like trading away Fred Warner and being like, "Oh, I didn't realize how important he was." That just doesn't. Their defense is good because of Fred Warner. You know, it's
Yeah.
that idea. The Mavericks are good because of Luca.
And since we're talking about football, we'll move over there in just a second. But Cody, I wanted to correct something that you said, because you said it would be like trading Lamar Jackson for drafting Caleb Williams. I think they didn't know that they would be able to draft Caleb Williams in this case. It was like trading Lamar Jackson for an aging Aaron Rodgers, because that's what they did with Anthony Davis. Uh, they traded a guy who has been an MVP like player in the past, but is a shell of that former self right now. So that's what it was like. So yeah, but anyway, I'm gonna
All right.
share my.
So for the next question, should we
Oh,
do the final PTI question, or how much time do we have?
we have about 15 minutes, maybe 20, and so let's do
Okay,
the
let's do the
let's do
MVP.
the football ones. Okay, and we will speed through these. So, um, and this was Yancey's to do, and so I'm going to go ahead and handle these. But the Buccaneers had pretty much no competition in the NFC South. They won it again. This is their third straight year winning the fourth straight year winning the NFC South, and they were an excellent offense. Fourth in points, third in yards. Baker Mayfield had a great 2023, and he had an even better 2024. 4,500 yards, 41 touchdowns. He did throw 16 picks. That's way too many. But when you throw 40 touchdowns, maybe that doesn't matter. Bucky Irving was a great. He was a runner-up in Offensive Rookie of the Year. Ran for over 1,000 yards. Mike Evans now has over 1,000 yards receiving in 11 straight years. That is an NFL record. Uh, and so, really good offensive weapons. Tristan Wirfs is just as good on the left side as he was on the right. That's a pretty good offensive line there. Vita Vea, excellent player as well. Shuts down the nose position. Kalijah Cansey had 7.5 sacks. Levante David is like 64 years old and he's still doing 122 tackles. He's just as good now as he was when he entered the league. He's amazing. Uh, Pretty good secondary there with Jamel Dean, Christian Izen, Zion McCollum. That's a pretty good secondary that played last year. Nothing to really mention other than Chris Godwin was having a career year before he tore his ACL. Those 50 catches and 5 touchdowns were in 7 games. So imagine what he would have done in 17. He was amazing. Uh, Defensive depth, nothing really I'll mention there. Josh Hayes, Antoine Winfield was hurt. He's one of the better safeties in the league. Chase McLaughlin was really accurate, 30 of 32, 54 56. He was excellent. And this Liam Cohen obviously is gone. He was just hired as Jacksonville's head coach. So for the third straight year, they're going to have to change hands and offensive coordinators. So let's talk about the. Um, there we go. Sorry. Let's talk about the Bucks. Um, I mentioned most of what I did there. That they had pretty much no competition in a weak NFC South. They only won 10 games, but it's going to be the same thing this coming year. They're going to have no competition to win the NFC South. So they just keep everything the same, which is exactly what they did. I think every single offensive player returns on the Bucks this year, and so I just you keep the status quo, you improve that defense, and try to contend for the NFC and not just your division. I think that's a really good team over there.
Yeah, I agree. I think their defense is doing really well. It's formidable. I think Baker Mayfield has proven himself consistently as a great quarterback at this point. He's reliable. He's accurate. He's a starting quarterback, and that's that. He should be treated as such and paid as such at this point. And I think Todd Bowles is kind of also proving himself as a good coach. You know, a good head coach, and is proving his spot. Again, it's easy to be competing in a division that doesn't have that, a contender kind of teams. So but it's a good team.
Yep.
Yeah, echo what you said. The only thing I'll say is Baker Mayfield. You know, those 16 picks, I'll take them. That's his style. You know, he's a he's a hurler. Stands back there just and just throws balls all day long, and so he does good. I'll take it.
Yep. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay. All right. It said something about not detecting a mic, but glad that you can hear me. Okay. Let's jump back in. Um, okay. Let's jump into the Baltimore Ravens, which is also my turn. So um, let's see. The Ravens, obviously, 12-5, went really good offense, number one in yards per game, also a top 10 defense. And so number one in rushing yards, number one in rushing yards allowed. This was just a great team all around. Lamar Jackson was fantastic. We just talked about him earlier this podcast. 41 touchdown passes against four interceptions. That is an insane statistic. And he probably was the best quarterback in the NFL last year, even though Josh Allen won the MVP. Derrick Henry almost ran for 2,000 yards himself. We questioned how that duo would work. No questions anymore. That duo is lethal on the run game. Whoops. Offensive line was pretty good, especially on the left side. Right side had some issues, but left side was great. Except there's some penalties there. 9 from Ronnie Stanley, 10 from Patrick McCary. On the defensive line, Namdi Madubuike and Odafe Owe, two fun names to say. In the middle, Roquan Smith had 154 tackles. That led the Ravens. Kyle Van Noy went to the Pro Bowl. I don't have the colors on this for some reason. Maybe I forgot to do that again. But he had 12 and a half sacks. Went to the Pro Bowl for the first time. Marlon Humphrey, Marcus Williams, Nate Wiggins, Kyle Hamilton is everywhere. This is a really good secondary. Offensive depth, nothing I will really mention there. Justice Hill is just a good player to say. And then on the defensive depth, Malik Harrison played really well. So did Chris Board and Eddie Jackson coming back from the Bears. Justin Tucker was just released, was just cut. That caused a mild uproar. He was bad last year, missing 8 field goals, just very inconsistent, and so they drafted a kicker and cut him. Meanwhile, these three guys returned for this year as well. Todd Monken, first in yards. Zach Orr, first in rushing yards allowed. John Harbaugh enters his 18th season this year. So, let's talk about the Ravens. Stop streaming. The Ravens, they just can't get past the playoffs. Last year they lost to the Bills. Previous year they lost to the Chiefs. They have a great regular season team. They have everything that they need to advance far in the playoffs. It's just they haven't been able to get past that particular team, whether it's the Chiefs or the Bills, and I think it's in their head now.
Yeah, I mean, they're good every year, right? They're good every year. They're always a contender. And I think at this point, my question is, when are they going to win the Super Bowl? Just go win the Super Bowl. They need to stop not winning the Super Bowl and just go win one. It's way easier to say that, of course, than for it to be done. But they have everything they need. They just need to do it.
I mean, I feel like you could replace Ravens with Bills and we're not change any of the words, right? And so I'd say the same thing I would about the Bills. Give them another 2, 2, 3, 4 years max, 3 years. Well, either the Ravens or the Bills are both going to win a Super Bowl in the next 3 years. I'll stamp that.
I'd agree with that too. Yeah. Okay, Cody, you are up with the Bengals. Let me get back to the screen.
All right, so Bengals went 9-8. Wait, there it is, 9-8, third in the AFC North, much better than that NFC South division. They had a very good offense. Their defense was a little bit lacking though. First in passing yards, gotta say that, and that's because of Joe Burrow. 43 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. Honestly, kind of around the mark as Lamar Jackson. You know, a few more interceptions, but a couple more touchdowns as well. 70% completion rate. I mean, just elite. He's just elite. They got a great receiving core. Jamar Chase has always been standing out, 1,700 yards. Chase Brown's a good running back, and T Higgins is also a great WR two. Offensive line, I think, need a little bit of help. I could be a little wrong there. I think they need to be doing a little bit better. I don't think they're bad. I'm not sure if any of them went to the Pro Bowl or not, but
Not
they
here.
need a little bit of help. But they're not the worst in the league. Defensive line, Sam Hubbard has always been pretty good. Trey Hendrickson as well.
Sorry.
Sorry, 1 second. There we go.
No, keep going.
Trey Hendrickson as well. Yeah, I see it now. Trey Hendrickson had 19 tackles for loss and almost 18 sacks. Just phenomenal player. Linebackers, let's see here. I think probably Logan Wilson and Jermaine Pratt are a lot of the ones that stick out. 143 tackles. They're doing well at the linebacker spot and stopping the running backs. Secondary, these are all great players in their own respective spots. They're able to be a lockdown secondary and good defense for them.
Whoops. Went way too far.
The offensive bench. I think the only people we need to, probably point out is, I can't even read this, is so small, but maybe Tanner Hudson came in and stepped in a little bit, but nothing else. And other than that, nothing else to really point out. Wait, oh, there it is. Okay. Defensive bench. Point out Chris Jenkins with 3 sacks there, 3 tackles for loss, as well as Jordan Battle being able to get some action there in the secondary. Their special teams. Evan McPherson's a pretty good kicker, but however, he missed 8. Looks like, no, sorry, 6. I can't do math. 6 this year, and missed only 1 extra point. 53 punts is low, and I didn't realize that's a BYU kid. Good for him.
Mm-hmm.
I think you actually put like the middle school yearbook photos of this guy.
I was just gonna say, it looks like a.
Yeah.
Zach Taylor is in his 6th season. He's really turned the Bengals around mainly because of Joe Burrow draft. So he was on the verge of getting fired and has turned around. So he's doing a lot better. Dan Pitcher did well in his first season, 6 points, 6th in points. But Lou Anarumo obviously got fired. You can't be in 26 in points there. So
Yeah. Okay.
analysis. For analysis, I think just I mean I'll say what I've already said already. Joe Burrow is an elite quarterback. He's no longer just a great one. He's elite. So they have what they need there. They have their offensive weapons. I think they need a better offensive line. They've got a good defense, but you're also competing in a hard division. You got the Ravens, you got the Steelers who can be competitive as well. Browns, you don't even know what to expect. They can be bad or they're going to be one of the better ones. And so it's not a division you can take lightly. So that's I think where they struggle. In any other division, they'd probably be on top of it.
Yeah, for me, their defense completely let them down last year. That's why you fire Lou Anarumo, because you have a art, state of art of offense here, throwing 40 touchdowns with a great wide receiver. Their defense couldn't stop anybody, and you can only count on an offense to outscore your opponent so many times, and they didn't make the playoffs. They wasted a generational season from Jamar Chase and another great one from Joe Burrow. You can't do that. So that's what they needed to focus on this year was fixing a defense and keeping the offense intact. If they can do that, that team can compete for the AFC North.
That's exactly what I was going to say is that you have a fantastic offensive team paired with a really poor defensive team. And you got to balance that out in order to win games.
Yeah. Okay. We have two more left. Can we get one of them done in the next minute or two? Or should we just do, let's do one more and then we'll finish last one next week. So, share screen. This is Yancey's team, the Browns, so I'll handle this one as well. The Browns were awful, 3-14, one of the worst. In fact, number two worst team, and the worst, obviously, in points completely. Number 32. And they were bad on defense, forcing turnovers. That's not a very good combination. Jameis Winston came in and he does. I mean, 13 touchdowns versus 12 interceptions is classic Jameis Winston. That's exactly what he does. He'll throw a lot of touchdowns and he'll throw a lot of interceptions. Jerry Judy was excellent though. 1,200 yards, 4 touchdowns. He was a big bright spot there, but no other bright spots there. Offensive line: Joel Bitonio, Ethan Posick, and Wyatt Teller are three really good interior players. The tackles struggled. Miles Garrett was excellent as he always is. He was a first team All Pro. That should be a light blue there. 14 sacks, 22 tackles for loss. You don't get much better than that. Jordan Hicks, Devin Bush, Muhammad Diabate, all of them 70 tackles. That is awful for linebackers. Awful. You need to be in the hundreds, and none of them got there. Denzel Ward led the NFL with 19 pass deflections. That is one of the best there. Grant Delpit, 111 tackles. Offensive depth: Nick Chubb is gone. He just didn't recover from that injury. Deshaun Watson is going to be injured for the start of next year as well. He had trouble with that Achilles, and so he's the most expensive hospital patient in history. And then defensive depth here: Jeremiah Wusu-Koroma is a really good player. Special teams. Nothing really good here. Dustin Hopkins really struggled. 9 missed field goals. Corey Bojorquez was okay. Coaching staff: Ken Dorsey was fired. 32nd in points. That's not going to win you any jobs. Kevin Stefanski has won Coach of the Year twice, and Jim Schwartz took a major step back last year, as did the entire team, really. But so analysis on the Cleveland Browns, discussion there. I mean, classic Browns, right? When you think everything is going to go fine, your whole team it just unravels on you. Then we're back to the Browns we knew.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure there's a whole lot to add to it. I mean, it's the Browns. They've got a few more quarterbacks on their roster this year to kind of figure some stuff out. But other than that, I stand by my thought is that you don't know what to expect. They can have years like this where they're 3-10, and I think what a year or two ago they had won 9 or 10 games or something like that. So they got to figure something out. I'm not sure what it is, Kevin.
I agree. They got to figure something out. I don't think having 6 quarterbacks on your roster counts as figuring it out, So
Especially when none of them are
sure.
starting caliber.
So yeah, good luck with that. Maybe try having a few wide receivers or defensive backs instead of quarterbacks. But good luck. I think to finish this out, it's unfortunate that we could just replay any of our comments in the last years about the Browns and it'd probably apply.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure. Um, yeah. So next week, we didn't get it done today, but next week we'll for sure finish it all out. Dustin will take us through the Steelers, and we'll finish everything out. We'll also obviously preview um, the the conference finals in each division. We'll do a little bit offline as well. Talk about the NBA playoffs. A little bit more time to talk about the NBA since we'll only do one NFL team next week. Do a lot of that and maybe check in on NHL and other things like that. We'll have more time to do the PTI questions and have a memory somewhere in there too. So a lot more time given back to us next week. So thanks everyone.